Our top stories tonight, the Chicago Bears. How can the Chicago Bears go from worst in the NFL all the way to the top of the NFC North? And is it even possible? We've got that and much, much more on Player Profiler today. Chicago Bears, the worst team in the NFL last year, a team that lost overall in terms of points for and against. They lost by 137 points this season. Brutal. Absolutely awful. And this is not Justin Fields' fault. This is the team's fault. They were a bad team. They had no weapons on offense. Their top receiver, once Darnell Mooney went down, was a tight end and Cole Kmet for the whole season. That no offensive line, bad defense. They're just a bad team. The Chicago Bears were a bad team. But can they become a good team? Can they become a team that wins the NFC North? Honestly, potentially. Because the Packers, they are set to take a step back this year with Jordan Love under center, a young, emerging offense. A lot of rookies going to be starting for the Green Bay Packers. It is going to be a work in progress. For the Vikings, we've seen them shed veteran talent all off season long, so Bears could easily finish ahead of the Minnesota Vikings. And then it's the Detroit Lions. They are everyone's favorite team, mine included. The young, the upstart, the Detroit Lions. But what if everything doesn't go to plan? What if the Lions struggle out the gate with Jamison Williams suspended? What if the Chicago Bears are the best team in the NFC North? Now, this isn't something I'm predicting, but I'm saying this is something that is possible. Seth Dywald is probably freaking out right now, our editor here at PlayerProfiler.com. He is probably very excited as a Chicago Bears fan. So let's get into why, the how, and the what of the Chicago Bears. But first, a word from the Podfather. Take it away.
You know, people always ask me, hey, what is the World Series of fantasy or the Super Bowl of fantasy football? And it's easy. It's the FFPC, the Fantasy Football Players Championship. It's a $6 million prize pool. And they've had their Never Too Early Best Ball leagues cranking since February. And so the FFPC is the answer to so many questions. Hey, where's the best place to get a Dynasty Orphan? Well, you can adopt a Dynasty Orphan at the FFPC. That's why we partner with them. If you want to play fantasy football for low, medium, high stakes, seasonal, best ball, dynasty, go to the FFPC. And don't forget, promo code Underworld to get you $25 off your first team. $25 off your first team, no matter what team it is, no matter what format it is, at the FFPC. Go do it.
Go do it. Go sign up for the FFPC. We will be drafting as a company against each other. I cannot wait for that. That is going to be phenomenal. Some great content coming to you throughout the offseason. But as for the Chicago Bears, I think it's going to be a great season for the Chicago Bears. They've got to learn to win small they've got to learn to lose small, first of all. Like I said, 137 points allowed. They have to go from losing big to losing small to winning small, and then eventually you start winning big. And the first step to that is Justin Fields. Only 2,200 passing yards this past season, but he scrambled 70 times. 70 scrambles for Justin Fields for 721 yards. If you just add the scramble yards, that's almost 3,000 yards for Justin Fields. And the scrambling will go down and the passing will go up. This will be a more competitive team in 2023. This will be a team that is more willing to air it out based on the weapons that they have under center. It is a slam dunk that Justin Fields will pass for over 3,000 yards. Still crazy, though, that the Chicago Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer in their history, but it's not going to be Fields. It's not going to be Fields this year at the very least. He's going to have to take a massive step to reach 4,000 yards passing. Let's start with a smaller goal, reach 3,000 passing yards. He'll probably still rush for 800-ish, but it won't be the 1,000 rushing yards from Justin Fields because he won't have to. He will be under pressure less. And now Justin Fields is still a quarterback that invites a lot of pressure on himself. He holds the ball too long, but he's going to have the ability to dump it off immediately. There's actually going to be a quick game for the Chicago Bears this year because DJ Moore can get open immediately at that X receiver position. He lines up on the outside, one-on-one coverage, man coverage more often than not. And DJ Moore is going to win that. DJ Moore is going to beat so many cornerback ones. He's going to put them in the spin cycle. DJ Moore going to get open. Last year, 888 yards, but a career high 7 touchdown receptions. I don't know if we'll see 7 TDs, but we will see DJ Moore get back to 1,000 yards receiving this year with Justin Fields. I know it's cliche at this point to compare AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts to Justin Fields and DJ Moore, but that's really the type of upgrade this is. It's not as extreme because DJ Moore isn't as good as AJ Brown. That's just a fact. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Don't deny it. And wide receiver 2, the Z receiver, Darnell Mooney. He's not as good as Devontae Smith, but this is a pretty good knockoff that they have. Darnell Mooney is ready to take off this year. Darnell Mooney, he's not really in the put respect on my name phase of his life anymore. No, Darnell Mooney is out there to disrespect people. He is out there to disrespect every cornerback that he faces. He doesn't care about respect period anymore. It's over. He is out there to make people look silly, to embarrass opposing defensive backs. And most importantly, Darnell Mooney is looking to win this season. And he's one of the better wide receiver 2s in the NFL. Darnell Mooney, de facto wide receiver 1 for the Bears last season before he got hurt. Move him to a wide receiver 2, and that upgrades the entire offense, especially because now Chase Claypool gets to be your wide receiver 3, your slot receiver. And say what you will about Chase Claypool. He's inconsistent. He's immature. But he is a physical freak. He is a supreme athlete. And realistically, he is one of the better wide receiver 3s in the NFL. That's not great for dynasty purposes. That's not what we like for fantasy football, but that's who Chase Claypool is, one of the best wide receiver 3s in the league. So the Bears are going to be able to pass more. They're going to be able to pass more efficiently. They're going to be able to have more of a quick game with DJ Moore getting open immediately. The deep game is going to take off because all 3, DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, all 3 can take the top off the defense. This is just going to be a better passing game for the Chicago Bears. Instead of having Equanimous St. Brown as your wide receiver 2 for most of the season, instead of having to rely heavily on Dante Pettis, now Equanimous St. Brown, he's still the wide receiver 4 until Tyler Scott passes him. And maybe Tyler Scott out of the University of Cincinnati, 4.39 at his pro day, which is 4.4 wheels. Maybe he's the replacement to Darnell Mooney next year. Darnell Mooney is a free agent. They could choose to not extend him, let him walk after the season, but we'll see what type of year he puts up. Maybe the Bears have to. Maybe he has such a good season that the Bears have to re-sign Darnell Mooney, but they have his replacement if not, or Tyler Scott can be the replacement to Chase Claypool, who was also in the final year of his deal as well. Either way, Tyler Scott is your wide receiver 5, potentially your wide receiver 4. That is a massive upgrade from what we saw last year with Equanimous St. Brown and Dante Pettis seeing significant run. Speaking of Dante Pettis, he's going to be competing for a roster spot with Velus Jones. I don't know if the Bears will keep 6 receivers, if they'll keep 7 receivers, but We know DJ Moore, he's a lock. Mooney's a lock. Claypool's a lock. Tyler Scott's a lock. Equanimous St. Brown is a lock because of what he offers as a blocker and on special teams. And so that, if they only keep 6 receivers, that leaves one spot for Velus Jones versus Dante Pettis. And that'll come down to special teams, which is an interesting question because Velus Jones, he was their kick returner last year, 22 kick returns, 5 punt returns, whereas Dante Pettis, he was the punt returner, 0 kick returns, but 18 punt returns. So Velus can do more, but he also had 2 muffed punts back there to put the ball on the ground. So can Velus Jones, last year's 3rd round pick, I mean, he's got to make the roster, right? But does he? The Bears are just that much better that Velus Jones might be on the outside looking in. It's not going to happen. They're going to keep him. But if we're talking about the best 6 receivers, maybe Dante Pettis beats out Velus Jones. It's a thing. It's definitely a thing. As for tight end, Cole Kmet, he's clearly the tight end 1. He's going to be the Y tight end, lined up in line, blocking a lot of the time. But it's interesting because Cole Kmet, he spent 43% of his snaps in the slot, 43% in line, whereas Robert Tonyan, who the Chicago Bears just signed, he spends 45% of his snaps in line, 38% of the snaps in the slot. So what that means overall, Tonyan is still the tight end 2, the move tight end technically, but maybe when we go to 2 tight end sets, it's Robert Tonyan in line, still blocking Cole Kmet flexed out into the slot. Either way, we're going to see a lot more of Cole Kmet than we will of Robert Tonyan, but Tonyan's going to get his reps. He's going to get his snaps, and he is going to be annoying around the goal line. For anyone that was banking on a Cole Kmet breakout, I don't know if I see it with Robert Tonyan just stealing 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns potentially from Cole Kmet, who hasn't been a big touchdown scorer anyways. I don't know. Either way, it's a good thing for this offense, but the individual players suffer. Cole Kmet sees a bite out of the apple from DJ Moore, from Robert Tonyan, from Chase Claypool, but that all helps out Justin Fields. Now, before we get to the running game of the Chicago Bears, we do have to hear from the Podfather. Take it away.
Now, I know many of you are looking for a secret weapon for your Dynasty League, and I have it. It's called the Dynasty Dominator app. You go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's right there. It's $5 to download, and then every year it's $5 to load the next incoming class of rookies. You can add Superflex, add tight end premium. It's incredible because it allows you to look up players. It allows you to vote on whether a player is a buy, hold, or sell, and then see the market sentiment on that player. And you can compare their lifetime value rating from PlayerProfiler to their Dynasty ADP at the FFPC, all in the price lookup tool. And beyond that, we have a trade analyzer, so you'll never lose another Dynasty trade again. And in our settings, you can set this is a win now team, this is a rebuilding team, and then we let you compare players. Look at their metrics side by side, prospect metrics, NFL metrics. It's all there. It's $5 in the App Store. There's some add-ons for Superflex and to buy the upcoming rookie class. Every year, you're going to spend $5 on this thing, and it's going to be well worth it.
It is absolutely going to be worth it. And following me on Twitter is going to be well worth it, at Cavanagh87. And you'll get some takes that might upset you because there were a lot of people resistant to the idea today that Dante Foreman might end up being a healthy scratch more than we think. Because to start the year, it's going to be Khalil Herbert as the lead back, but eventually we all know that Roschon Johnson is going to take that over. But still, it's Khalil Herbert, RB1, Roschon Johnson, number 2, and then third in line for carries would be Dante Foreman. Except Dante Foreman can't play on third downs. He doesn't pass block. He doesn't run routes. That's just not what he does. So, no, we're probably going to see Travis Homer as third in line. Well, that's not possible. They gave Dante Foreman more money. Technically, because Dante Foreman is making $2 million this year, and Travis Homer's making $1.9 million, but Travis Homer signed a 2-year deal. He is more involved in the Chicago Bears plans than Dante Foreman. So what's probably going to end up happening is maybe week 1, Roschon Johnson is a healthy scratch, but I doubt it. Roschon Johnson is just too talented to have inactive. So the most likely scenario is Khalil Herbert. He's the starter. Roschon Johnson mixes in, and by mid-October, he's now the lead back. And Travis Homer is the RB3 because he plays special teams. So does Roschon Johnson. And Roschon will play special teams until he earns the full starting role. So, and even once he does that, he'll play a little bit of special teams still until he's completely taken off because he's the feature back now. But that still means Dante Foreman, 4th in line. Now, he's a solid runner. He is a bowling ball. He's hard to tackle. But RB2 and RB3 need to do more than just be a good runner. Because he's not a great runner. He's a good runner. Advanced metrics show that Dante Foreman isn't dominant in any of those, any stat particularly. But Dante Foreman, he is good. He's a good between the tackles runner. He is a grinder. But RB2 and RB3 have to play on third downs. They have to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. They have to be able to play on special teams. That is how the NFL works. So unless the Bears are carrying 4 running backs on game day, which isn't something many NFL teams do. Some do. It's just not common. And especially once injuries start happening, you're forced to make some decisions. Dante Foreman is going to be a healthy and active more than we expect. Maybe he gets traded. I had a theory today presented to me that what if the Bears send Dante Foreman to the Dallas Cowboys? That would be perfect. They get their Zeke replacement as the short yardage goal line between the tackles grinder for cheaper than Zeke at $2 million. And Dante Foreman, now he actually gets a path to a role. And now Ronald Jones doesn't have to play, which is also good for the Dallas Cowboys because we don't want that. Ronald Jones should not see the field. So it's a win-win if the Bears get rid of Dante Foreman, which is a possibility because I just don't see where he fits in this backfield. Roschon Johnson is too talented, and the cream always rises to the top. And Roschon Johnson is the cream of the crop. He will rise to the top of this depth chart and be the Bears RB1 by October. Telling you now. And he's going to be running behind an improved offensive line. Justin Fields last year was under pressure on 45% of his snaps. Now, as I mentioned, part of that is because he invites pressure. He holds the ball too long. But another part of it was Sam Mustipher as his starting center. If you don't know who Sam Mustipher is, I should have pulled up this clip ahead of time, but search his name on Twitter, and I guarantee you the first video will be the most ridiculous series of events ever. It looks like it's supposed to be a screen, but he just runs sideways and doesn't block anyone. And that's what the Bears were dealing with. So they move on from Sam Mustipher, and they also move on from Lucas Patrick. They signed Lucas Patrick to be their starting center last year. He breaks his hand, so he can't snap the ball, is moved to guard, and it doesn't work out particularly well. And now he's a backup. So this is much like with DJ Moore when you shift Darnell Mooney from wide receiver 1 to wide receiver 2 and Chase Claypool from wide receiver 2 to wide receiver 3 and Equanimeous St. Brown from wide receiver 3 to wide receiver 4 or 5. This is the same thing with the offensive line, the way the draft and free agency worked out. They go out and they don't overpay at tackle. They were in on Mike McGlinchey with the Denver Broncos, but the Bears don't overpay at tackle. Instead, they wait and they draft Darnell Wright. They get their right tackle on a much cheaper deal and probably better. I won't be surprised if from day one, Darnell Wright is a better right tackle than what the Broncos get in Mike McGlinchey because he's taken a step back over the past couple of years. He's still a solid starter, but the fact that it's a question shows you the Bears made the right decision. And they go out and they get Nate Davis, a young emerging guard from the Tennessee Titans. He was the guy that when he was at the Senior Bowl, his butt was literally touching the ground in his 3-point stance because he was coming from the Chanticleers, was it? Was it Coastal Carolina that he was from? I believe it was Coastal Carolina. But either way, he was from an upstart program that hadn't really played a whole lot. And so he didn't have coaching to have a proper 3-point stance. He's improved every year, goes to the Chicago Bears, and now he slides in at right guard. And Tevin Jenkins, who broke out last year as a guard, he slides over to left guard, which means their left guard, Cody Whitehair, slides into center, which gets Lucas Patrick off the field, which is an addition by subtraction, and gives the Bears one of the better backups, interior linemen, backup centers in the NFL. So that's a win across the board. Same with Darnell Wright, because it moves Larry Borum to swing tackle. Didn't get it done as a starter, but as a backup, you can do a lot worse than Larry Borum. So these two moves by the Chicago Bears upgrades the entire offensive line across the board. Braxton Jones, fifth round pick last year, continuing to take steps in his progression, played well above a 5th round pick should. So there's hope with this Bears offensive line. Justin Fields isn't going to be running for his life as much. He's still going to be one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the NFL, but it won't be because of his offensive line. It'll be because of his style of play, but there will be more situations where Fields has a pocket and Mooney can get open deep or Moore can get open deep. The Bears have upgraded this offense across the board. They've upgraded the offensive line. They've upgraded the wide receiver room. They've upgraded the tight end room, and they've upgraded the running back room. The entire offense from top to bottom is better than it was last year. They just need Justin Fields to take it. And on the defensive side, this is a solid defense that they're building. It's still going to be in the bottom half of the NFL. They desperately need an impact pass rusher, because right now it's Travis Gibson, who younger player. Okay, he's emerging, but it's him. And then it's a rotation. There's 3 guys kind of competing. There's DeMarcus Walker, who's a part-time defensive tackle, kind of that base end that'll kick inside on passing downs, which is the same as Rasheem Green. And both of those guys, they're veterans, but they're like 4 to 6 sack guys. The Bears need a 10 sack guy. Dominique Robinson, he's another guy off the bench competing for that role. Smaller guy, 3rd round pick last year, 4th round pick last year. They're all guys who deserve to see snaps in the NFL. They're all kind of 3rd edge rushers, and Travis Gibson's kind of a 2nd edge rusher. They need that impact playmaker, like their Robert Quinn, like their Khalil Mack. If they get that guy, that upgrades the entire defensive line. Then DeMarcus Walker, Rasheem Green, they can kick inside on passing downs, play that 3 tech, rush the passer. And they invested at D tackle too. They drafted 3 defensive tackles. They drafted Gervon Dexter, one of the best athletes at the defensive tackle position. They drafted Zach Pickens, who was a 5-star prospect out of the University of South Carolina. And then they go out and draft Travis Bell. I believe he was out of Stanford, if my memory serves me correct. I forgot to write that down, but either way, the Bears had a massive problem at defensive tackle, and so they plug it with body after body. And now they've got depth. They've got strength on the interior. And at linebacker, they kind of did the same thing. Instead of drafting guys, though, which they still did with Noah Sewell, they just threw money at the position. Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, they signed the Bills starting linebacker. They signed the Eagles starting linebacker. And now they have 2 guys for basically the same price tag as Roquan Smith. So this was an upgrade by the Bears. Now, I still think they overpaid for 2 linebackers. We prefer to spend money on more impact positions, but it's still a win because they didn't pay Roquan Smith $20 million. And they've got quality depth too. They drafted Noah Sewell, the brother of Penei Sewell. They've got Jack Sanborn, an undrafted free agent from last year who stood out. So the Bears are in a good position at linebacker and in the secondary too. This is a young secondary with two veterans, Jalen Johnson, their cornerback one, and Eddie Jackson, Bojack, their safety. Those are kind of the veterans in the room, but outside of them, Jaquan Brisker, their second-round pick last year, Kyler Gordon, another second-round pick last year at safety and slot cornerback, and then they just go out and draft Tyreek Stevenson in the second round this year. And based on what we've seen from the Bears, they are willing to play their rookies early. Tyreek Stevenson is going to be a day one starter, which again upgrades the defense. Upgrades across the board. There is not one position that the Bears actually got worse at this offseason. They stayed the same at safety. They upgraded at corner because now Kindle Vildor and Jalen Jones, they moved to CB 4/5 and maybe even 6 because Terrell Smith, much like the Bears drafted 3 defensive tackles, they drafted 3 corners as well. 2 outside, 1 in Tyreek Stevenson, 2 in Terrell Smith, and then they drafted a slot in Kendall Williamson. So the Bears, they went hard at their needs and upgraded. Because don't get me wrong, it didn't take much to upgrade. The fact that a second-round pick at corner is starting from day one, that's a sign of the talent and a sign of how poor this defense was before. But the Bears are not the worst team in the NFL anymore. They're not a bottom 5 team in the NFL. The Bears are going to be somewhere from a 6-win team to a 9-win team. The Bears could win 9 games. The Bears could have a winning record this year. I won't go past that, but with the step back from the Minnesota Vikings, with the step back from the Green Bay Packers, with the step forward that I expect Justin Fields to take, with the upgrades at literally every position. Let's recap one final time. They stayed the same at quarterback. They upgraded at receiver. They upgraded at running back. They upgraded at tight end. They upgraded at offensive line. They technically upgraded at edge, even though they got rid of... No, Robert Quinn doesn't count. That was an in-season trade. So yeah, they upgraded at edge, not enough. Upgraded at defensive tackle. Upgraded at linebacker. Upgraded at corner, and stayed the same at safety. So every position but quarterback and safety, the Chicago Bears upgraded. During free agency, during the draft, the Chicago Bears are no longer the bottom of the NFC North, no longer the bottom of the NFL. I'm not saying that they're going to win the North, but I'm saying in the next 3 years, the Chicago Bears will finish first in the NFC North.
Hey, you like that video? Be sure to subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out PlayerProfiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.